Welcome back to another episode of the Lord of the Rings LCG Progression Series. Playing solo as always, and today's quest is the Scouring of the Shire. It was, in playtesting, relatively easy to beat this quest with a Outland Swarm deck, but I didn't really want to do that for this video. I want to play a Hobbit's deck because the Scouring of the Shire is one of my favorite parts of the Lord of the Rings books, and I was sad it wasn't included in the movie. But I absolutely love this quest. This is one of, if not my favorite quest in the game. I think it is thematic, very, very thematic, and the challenge is very well balanced. And so major props to the Long Extended Party Players Committee for the design of this quest. It is a print-on-demand quest from the Players Committee. So, let's get the quest loaded up. And I couldn't run Leadership Frodo, my favorite Hobbit hero, in this deck because Frodo is a ally hero. I'm not sure what you would call him. He's included as part of the quest. First stage of this quest is Flavor. Now this deck is relatively thematic except for the inclusion of Treebeard, who I wanted to include, imagining in my mind, what if he came up from Fangorn after the events of Return of the King to help the hobbits out, taking care of Sauron. I feel like that's something he would have liked to do, even though it didn't happen that way and it's not thematic, but I still wanted to include him in the deck. Partly just for my imagination, and partly because I did actually need him. The attack power. This isn't an easy quest. It's not overly difficult, but it's not easy either. And this deck I was playing wasn't optimized. So we've got Treebeard and we've got Gandalf to help out. And the rest is all hobbits. So for phase 1, if you didn't notice, you can exhaust a hero, subtract a resource from him to add 2 to Sauron, which helps you defeat Sauron later. And then phase 1 ends at the end of the planning phase, and we're on to phase 2. I cleared the Brandywine location, the Brandywine gate, and that forced me to pull a feather-tipped Shirriff out of the encounter deck. Those enemies cannot be destroyed. They don't attack for much. If they do damage, they do it in threat. Threat is the major obstacle in this quest. It's a subtle way of encouraging you to play hobbits who are good at low threat. You're not forced to play a low threat deck, but you may struggle on this quest with a deck that starts in the mid 30s or upper 30s. Because you can take on some threat in a hurry in this one. So I'm getting Unexpected Courage. I want that on Tom. And as I didn't get an enemy turn 1, I'd say things were going pretty well at this point. Get a Hobbit Archer out, a card I've never played before now. And I'm thinking about getting Treebeard out using Frodo's resources, which I found not much use for Frodo's resources in this one as I wasn't playing with campaign cards. And Treebeard generates a resource each round, which I don't think I ever used. So, I'm questing relatively lightly. Well, no, not relatively lightly. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I'm questing normally. And I decide to use Fatty Bolger's once per game ability on that enemy to raise threat by 4 and send him off to the victory display. I do have cards in the deck that take advantage of an enemy being in the victory display, but really I had just discovered that a weakness of this deck is dealing with too many enemies early in the game, and I didn't want to deal with that enemy, and that's why I sent him off to the victory display at the expense of threat. I would have ideally liked to save Fatty Bolger for a Ruffian gang, but I just decided to risk that one wouldn't show up and one didn't. And in phase 2 of this quest, if you make 3 progress and you have 2 feather-tipped sheriffs, you can get rid of one of them. The quest has a mechanism for discouraging you from not making progress. You take 3 threat if you don't make any progress. So that's to punish turtling, I imagine. You've got to kind of move things along. Get out Bill the Pony for free since Sam Gamgee is on the table. I don't have 12 progress on the quest yet, so I can't travel to the location 3 Farthing Stone, and the location 3 Farthing Stone is required to advance the quest. So first you got to make the 12 progress, then you can travel to 3 Farthing Stone. Right now I'm set up very well considering there's no enemies, no extra locations on the table. Got Treebeard out, got some Hobbit allies out. We're rolling along at this point. Threat's a little high at 36, and I don't think I have any threat reduction to speak of. So I do make the progress I need, and then I go ahead and travel to 3 Farthing Stone. The other location, Brick Building, I don't think it does much. It prevents healing while it's in the staging area. So, everything's going well. Curious Brandybuck, I'm thinking about saving and taking advantage of it. I hadn't played it ever before. I was kind of curious about how it would work here. I wouldn't say it worked particularly well. Probably another Hobbit ally would be better if I redesigned this deck. I used Odo so I can look at the top 5 for a Hobbit ally. Each Hobbit ally that comes into play gets +2 attack for that round thanks to Tom Cotton. Don't think I ever took advantage of that in this game. I might have at the end. But I'm going ahead and just questing to clear 3 Farthing Stone. I may be overkilling it here, but I'm not sure. It's another feather-capped Shirriff. The threat punishment from stage 2 of the quest happens at the end of the questing phase, and since I cleared the quest here, I didn't have to pay that. I got -1 threat for exhausting Mary. He reduces threat by the threat of an enemy. And then I get -3 for clearing 3 Farthing Stone. And we're on to the next phase, which requires me to randomly select 3 of the 7 quests that are set aside. And we got number 1, which is Rouse the Cottons. Number 2, which is Set Up Barriers. And number 1 again, which is Awake Fire Foes Awake. Basically, each of these quests that you complete will allow you to convert a feather-tipped sheriff to your side. They each have different obstacles. Some quests you can complete 2 in 1 round. Like, for example, that one, I can spend 1 resource to place 3 progress on Set Up Barriers. You can repeat that, so I think that said players cannot draw cards. If I spent 4 resources here, I could go ahead and clear the Set Up Barriers right away. I'm just debating about which quests to focus on and what order to do them. You get penalized for each quest that's remaining, but you're also encouraged not to remain on this phase of the quest too long. You can basically move on whenever you want to, as long as you're willing to take on 1 enemy per quest that's remaining. At the end of the round, you can just go ahead and move on. You get escalating amounts of threat for each round you remain, so you can't turtle. You're encouraged to complete the quest as quickly as possible. And I decided to just go ahead and spend the 4 resources. Maybe I noticed that I wouldn't be able to draw cards and wanted to be able to draw cards. So There we go. We rouse a Hobbit, which converts one of the feather-capped sheriffs to my side. If you want to complete Rouse the Cottons, you can only do it using heroes. My hero's willpower is not terribly strong. Awake Fire Foes Awake is not an easy one to clear. Each time you clear a side quest, you have to grab another feather-capped sheriff from the encounter deck or the discard pile and add it to staging. So there's always going to be more feather-capped sheriffs to convert. And Tom Cotton's going to take that attack. I choose to take the 1 damage instead of the threat. I was a little worried about threat at this point. Don't know that I needed to be, but I was conscious of not having any threat reduction in the deck and that this encounter deck can add large amounts of threat to you in a hurry. Having traveled to the location, I can put Curious Brandybuck into play from hand. He's going to leave play as soon as I explore the location. And at the end of the round, I place 1 resource there and I raise threat by 1. And then we're on to the next round. Don't know what I was thinking about there. Allies cannot commit to the quest while Rouse the Cottons is active. And so I make Awake Fire Foes Awake the active quest. And I think I make a mistake here in not playing Gandalf. In order to complete Awake Fire Foes Awake this round, because I think I miss it by 1 point. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Or maybe this is next round this happens. I don't think I'm intending to make major progress on the quest this round, given the amount of characters that I'm questing with. That objective is going to capture Treebeard as the highest cost ally. Treebeard goes off to jail. So 9, I make 6 progress. Clears the location basically. Off goes Curious Brandybuck to the bottom of my deck. And I'm going to try to get Treebeard back as soon as I can. Got 2 attacks from feather-capped sheriffs now, but Tom Cotton's going to take both of them. I think Ringmail did some work in this one. Had to raise threat by 1 or exhaust a character. I chose to exhaust. And at the end of the round, add another resource, and now it's 2 threat I get. At the next round, it'll be 3. So you can see it gets up there in a hurry. I'm at 38 now. It is a concern. Rosie Cotton is a great Hobbit ally. And I choose Pippin over the Bywater Sheriff. Got a pretty decent Hobbit army now. And I think I push for the quest here. But I should have perhaps played Gandalf instead of Pippin and Rosie. Like I said, I think I fall 1 short on Awake Fire Foes Awake and basically come to the conclusion that I can't wait around another round and I've got to move forward now. So I quest with everyone and still fall a little short. So I'm making 16 progress. I decide I'll wait on Fatty, or not quest on Fatty. That would have done it too. But I was thinking, well, what if I get another enemy? I won't have anywhere to put the attack. So I fall short by 1. If I'd played Gandalf, would that have made any difference? I remember when I was playing this game, I was thinking I made a mistake. I could have played Bilbo from hand. I don't know why I didn't do that. I should have done that, and then I would have cleared the quest. That's the mistake, not playing Gandalf. Gandalf I don't think would have made any difference in clearing it here. But if I'd played Bilbo, would have made it. And as it is, I come to the conclusion after doing a quick calculation in my head that next round I'd be taking 4 threat, I'd be up to 45. I was definitely worried about threading out, and I decide I just need to move on here, which you can choose to do at the end of the round. I'm going to have to get 2 enemies into staging due to the 2 uncompleted side quests, and I don't get to convert one of the sheriffs, but the misplay costs me a little. Now there's a bunch of instructions. The feather-capped sheriffs all go away. And you need to get a gang of ruffians out and engage it. So just a little housekeeping here while I get rid of all the feather-capped sheriffs. And I need a gang of ruffians. And if there were any more players, then I have to discard until X enemies are discarded and add them to staging area. That would be 2, and then I remove those side quests. Those are supposed to go to the staging area. There, I figured out. And then the side quests go away. Could have made this easier on myself if I just played Bilbo. I don't know why I didn't. While any ruffian in play has any remaining hit points, they all stay in play. There are 2 more ruffians, so they all need to die at once, basically. I really don't think I could have waited around another turn. I'd be at 46 threat. I likely would have lost, at least in my opinion. I was thinking if I could use Mary for threat reduction, but those enemies were added to the staging area, not revealed. And Mary's card says they need to be revealed. So I'm just thinking about how much I need to quest to not take any threat, basically. And I figured now is a good time for Gandalf, and likely I will not use him for threat reduction. I will use him to eliminate one of the enemies, the biggest one. Off he goes. Now that may have been a mistake. I should not have been able to destroy him at that point because he should have indestructible. I can do the 3 damage to him, but I can't destroy him. I still would have had to have tanked his attack. I don't think that's going to make a big deal in this quest. Let's see how I chose to play it. So I would have needed a quest for a little more. I do finally notice that I can play Bilbo, but for some reason I do a foolish thing here and decide, and I play Odo again, even though there's an Odo on the table already. Or no, I don't play any. I don't know why. Why didn't I want to play Bilbo? How strange. So I make 3 meaningless progress. I should have had another enemy engaged at this point. So that would have been an additional shadow card. 2 of the attacks would likely go on Tom Cotton. And then 1 could have gone on anything, really. A Hobbit Archer, Odo, Treebeard, whatever. I got lots of guys available to take that quest. Lots of guys available to send to the quest so that I wouldn't have taken the additional threat from the ruffian. So I don't think that mistake would have done much against me. And then I made a mistake not playing Bilbo for who knows why. I really have no clue. I left that card there for the moment to remind myself that they would get +1 attack each. And now I go ahead and use Gandalf. Some Hobbit archers, build a pony to dispatch the gang of ruffians, or at least get 8 points on him. 8 hit points. And then I'm checking to see if I realize I can add Rosie Cotton's willpower to Tom Cotton's attack and use Odo to dispatch the thieving ruffian. So in the end, I end up with 2 extra characters. I would tentatively say that it didn't matter that I axed the other ruffian early. It may have delayed the game by 1 turn, to be honest, though. I'm not too sure. With Pippin and the feather-capped sheriff, yeah, it's hard to say. I may have taken some additional threat from failing the quest. I did overkill it by 3, though, so I didn't need much extra questing. I could have afforded to take the extra threat and then have either Pippin or the sheriff tank the attack from the extra ruffian, and I think it would have been just fine. Especially if I had played Bilbo. I really, really don't know why I did that. So anyway, at this point, you can, when there are no enemies left, you advance to the final stage. You need to make 6 progress on the quest. However, you cannot make more progress than tokens that Saruman has. And you place tokens on Saruman by exhausting a hero and discarding a resource token from its pool. So Bond of Fellowship is quite good in this instance because you get an extra hero to use to do that. Saruman starts with 2 resource tokens on him if you put the 2 on him at the beginning of the game. And if you did, then you can use Bonds of Fellowship or Bonds of Friendship to place all the tokens you need on him in 1 round. And then if you have enough allies, you can go ahead and quest. I did a stupid thing here and played Odo Proudfoot even though there's another Odo Proudfoot on the table. I realized that later, and that's not going to impact anything, as I do search the top 5 cards of my deck, but I don't find an ally here. I really don't know what my objection to Bilbo was here. He's not on the table already. It's bizarre. Maybe I just didn't see him. Who knows? But I exhaust heroes and spend resources so that Saruman's up to 5 now. Once you've got the 6 resources on Saruman and the 6 progress on the quest, then you can make Grima's Choice the active quest, and you just need 3 progress per player on it, and then that defeats Saruman as Grima stabs him. So that was the Odo Proudfoot thing, and that I shouldn't have done. But it's a duplicate of Rosie Cotton, so it makes no difference. I don't think Odo contributes anything either. Duplicate Odo. Silly thing to do. So I end up making 1 progress. Which is fine. I need 6 on the quest. considering my threat now, I think it was definitely correct to move on from phase 2 when I did. So I needed to add a location due to that Sharky card. I accidentally discarded the Sharky card, and I realized I shouldn't have. It's supposed to go on the bottom of the deck. It's not going to matter because I don't go through the Sharky deck. Now I'm trying to find it, and I have no clue where it went. I still don't know. So it's just a mystery. Yeah, I never did figure out where that card went. Who knows? Treebeard got abducted again. And Saruman has all the resources on him I need. I just need to make the questing progress. Didn't have Ally Faramir in this deck. He'd work real well in this deck, but I didn't play him for thematic reasons. At 45 threat, which was definitely a concern. I think I'm realizing that I could have put potentially Curious Brandybuck. Now I finally decide to play Bilbo. I don't have any pipes in my deck. At some point I realized Odo's gotta go. So we're just questing. I think now I realize there's a duplicate of Odo. Whoops. I don't refund myself the resources. And I increased my threat by 1 just because I wasn't sure if I committed Odo to the quest or not before. Which of course I didn't. I later realized I didn't utilize him at all, so I didn't need to do that. But I do get all the progress I need here. So next round I can make Grima's Choice the active quest. Get Treebeard back. Not sure what I'm thinking about here. Just making sure I'm doing everything correctly, I think. So I go ahead and move to the location. I meant to play that from hand thanks to moving to the location. Get another Sharky card. Which is going to deal a damage to everyone. Which I don't think... Oh, it came close to killing Pippin, except that Bill the Pony adds a hit point to all the hobbits, so he saved a couple of hobbits here. And the ruffian was taken care of relatively easily. Saruman automatically gets a resource at the end of the staging step. That's why he's got 7 now, even though I don't need it. And I can go ahead and make Grima's Choice the active quest. Send everyone, and once I've got 3 on Grima's Choice, the stage is defeated. Saruman is discarded from play by Grima's Choice. and that will end the quest. So with just 2 staging steps while Saruman's on the board, there were just 2 Sharky cards, so I never cycled through the Sharky deck, and it didn't matter that I don't know where that 1 Sharky card went when I accidentally discarded it. Probably just because I don't know the program well enough. And that ends the quest with 3 on Grima's Choice. I really, really, really like this quest. I think the design is unparalleled. I would rank it even higher than FFG's quests. The theme for me really is good because I really liked Scouring of the Shire, and I was sad at the end of Return of the King when it wasn't included. But this quest is designed really well in such a way that it feels like you're playing through that part of the book. So really, really good quests. I enjoyed playing a thematic deck on it, which I don't usually do. Usually I just play the strongest deck available. I think that probably would have been something like Outland Swarm, but I really wanted to play a Hobbit deck for this quest. So, thank you so much to the designers of the quest. And thank you everyone for watching. And I'll see you next time.